Let's talk advice with your host, Jonah Keen. Welcome to the Jonah Keen Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jonah Keen Podcast. It is the third episode, and I am here today with Bernice Thompson. Bernice Thompson is the manager at the Dave & Buster's in Happy Valley, Oregon. Bernice is married and is a proud mama bear of 2. Bernice, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
That is wonderful, Bernice. So I'm gonna ask you some questions about Dave & Buster's, because as most of the fans, most of the advice freaks know, that's what I like to call my fans, advice freaks, because I am Jonah, Mr. Advice Keen. I'm gonna ask some questions for you, Bernice, because everyone knows Dave & Buster's is my favorite place to go every night. Get a drink, watch the game, go Pacers. So, what does an average night at Dave & Buster's look like?
Let me think. It usually starts out with Mr. Jonah here coming on into my lovely establishment, drinking until he is intoxicated, and then doing very violent deeds around the entire premises of the building.
I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I'm a wonderful guest at your place pretty much every night. So maybe if you can, every night I'm a wonderful guest and I do not make a racket. I do not do whatever you're saying is untrue. It's a lie. What does an average night at Dave & Buster's look like without talking about me? Perhaps.
Well, it's usually pretty slow without you. Clean up the messes that you make when you come. Because usually they stain, like they stay there for a really long time. So it takes up a lot of my time. That's all I can think of.
Okay, Bernice, I paid you a lot of money for you to be on the show. If you could please maybe respect me on my own show, that'd be awesome. Next question. What is some advice you may give to the people who may not be so sure about if they want to go to Dave & Buster's? Like, how do you convince new customers to come on into Dave & Buster's?
Dave & Buster's is an amazing place. You're going to have an amazing time. But you probably should not come to the one in Happy Valley because you know who's there every day? Every day, even holidays. He was there on Christmas Eve. I'm not sure if he has family. I'm a little concerned. But you were there. And I felt it in my heart, and I wanted to ask you to leave. But at the same time, we do need business. And so I do want people to come, but the human decency in me doesn't want that for other people.
Bernice, that is not very nice. You know, I just got divorced not too long ago from my wife, Jenna. And I just think that was a little inappropriate of you to talk about me like that. But next question. What is your favorite sports team to watch on the big screens at Dave & Buster's?
My favorite sports team to watch on the big screen at Dave & Buster's would probably have to be the Bears. I like them. I enjoy watching them play.
Oh, are you from Chicago? The Chicago Bears?
Honestly, I hate Chicago.
But you like the Bears?
The Bears, yeah.
All right, next question. What does the name Dave & Buster's come from? Who's this Dave guy? Who's this Buster's guy? And why is it the name of a fine establishment where you go in, you can eat, you can drink at the bar, or you can play arcade games?
Great question. They're the names of the guys who made the business. And I can tell you something right now, they both would hate you.
What is your favorite arcade game to play at Dave & Buster's?
That is a difficult question that you just asked me. I think I'd have to go with the OG game, Pac-Man. I have the highest score. Jonah, of course, has the lowest score on that game. A 6-year-old girl came in to our establishment and was able to beat his record in
All
5
right, well, I
minutes.
don't think we should talk about that. I think we should move on to the next question, and I will. Bernice, when did you start working at Dave& Buster's?
Well, to be honest with you, I had hit an all-time low in my life. As you know, I am married with some kids. And I don't know if you know this, but sometimes kids are crazy.
I totally get you. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they are indeed crazy. I couldn't
Yeah,
agree.
but you're divorced, so it's different. Anyway, as the married person in a happy relationship was saying, I did turn to drugs. And while I was on a high, I decided to fill out the application form for Dave and Buster's, and they did end up hiring me. And well, now I am 2 weeks sober, and here we are.
Well, congratulations on the 2-week sobriety. I gotta ask, why did you choose Dave& Buster's of all places?
I don't know, it just has a nice ring to it, I suppose.
Are you thinking of maybe divorcing your husband soon?
No, I don't like him in any way. However, I need the cash. I'm not sure if you know this, but Dave and Buster's doesn't pay very well.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
I thought you were going on with your sins. It sounded like you were halfway.
No, I like to change the inflation in my voice to make it sound as though there's going to be more words that I'm going to say.
And,
That's it.
okay. What's your opinion on Ralph, my best friend, who also goes to Dave & Buster's every night with me? And he's actually, backstory, a little quick, backstory for everyone, including all the fans listening. Um, the reason I got my name, Mr. Advice, Jonah Mr. Advice Keen, is because Ralph called me Mr. Advice once after I gave Bernice, you wouldn't believe it, one of your bartenders, Sarah, some advice. And Ralph said, this guy's Mr. Advice. And I said, I guess I am Jonah, Mr. Advice Keen. And that's the first time I ever said it. And that's kind of the backstory of why I'm called Mr. Advice. Um, Back to what I was asking, what's your opinion on my best friend Ralph?
Ralph is a real person.
Um,
I assumed that he was your other personality that you spoke to because I have never seen this man in my entire life.
um, I Next question, Bernice. What is some advice you'd like to give to the moms who have to juggle parenting their children, keeping a stable marriage, and working at the Dave and Buster's?
Yes, I am a triple threat. Thank you for pointing that out. I would say take time for yourself. It is important to have a nice, healthy, balanced life. Make sure there's no negative things in your life. For example, and this is just to clear up things for the audience, Jonah. Every time you come into Dave and Buster's, I feel a negative energy, very negative. And I think that is bad for my mental health. And I think that needs to be stopped. And it is important to look at all the bad, let's say, Jonahs in your life. For example, maybe a guy comes into a restaurant who's super annoying, very nasally voice, asks a lot of questions for some reason, begs you to be on his podcast, tells you he'll give you a $10 gift card to frozen yogurt to do it, and for some reason you accept. you should probably go to the doctor and ask them to check you over for mental problems.
Bernice, that might be some wonderful advice. It kind of went over my head. I kind of had no idea what you were talking about half that time, but I think it was some good advice. I think I'm just gonna ask you respectfully to not bring up the gift card that I will be giving you next time I see you, because you did this podcast. And thank you so much for the awesome advice, Bernice. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Yes, it was a wonderful time. And let's do it again, maybe, perhaps.
Yes, of course.
All right, everyone, let's move on to today's sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Tech Turtles. So I'm going to get this thing that I need to read out, and here we go. Let's read this. Tech Turtle is a company that appreciates nature. That's why they use fully recyclable material when creating each and every one of their products. Ever since Tech Turtle started back in late 2020, they have been fully focused in on creating comfortable, accessible, and safe for the environment products. Tech Turtle's latest creation are the headphones seen on the art. Tech Turtle's latest creation are the headphones that are on the screen now, the WSTLF ones. These headphones offer premier sound quality that even a podcaster like me, insert name here, can appreciate. The WSTLF ones are now available on Tech Turtle's website for only $1,200. However, if you use code KEEN at checkout, you can save up to 4% and receive a free Tech Turtle sticker. Once again, use code KEEN for a 4% discount and a free Tech Turtle sticker. It's a hell of a deal, folks. Now let's get back to the program. Thank you, Tech Turtle, for sponsoring. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jonah Keen Podcast. And today we're joined by my very good friend, Chris Scully.
Evening.
Chris Scully is your resident coffee-loving goth geek cat dad. Today we're talking to Scully, mainly about his passion for rock and roll and any advice he could give to fellow musicians listening in on the podcast. We may get into some other topics as well. Scully, how are you doing tonight?
Not bad, actually. Like I think we were discussing a little before we started. I was a little surprised to get an invite, but I'm always willing to talk about music because it's such a huge part of my life. For a little bit of time, I took a break because of some personal things, and then due to COVID, we suddenly had a lot of time on our hands. And so besides working, I thought that it would be a great opportunity to get back into my passion, which was music. And it always has been. I went to school for music, and I've been studying and playing since I was 11. So I only knew that it was be the best thing to do for all around mental sake, and just to be creative, was to really start playing again and really like dive into technique and things like that.
Oh, cool. Well, I was gonna say I'm gonna let you loose and let you talk about your background. You'd being a rock and roll punk star metalhead.
I mean, yeah. Like I said, I started when I was about 11. And my whole family is very musical. Like my mom and my dad were roadies for bands. And so...
What does roadies mean? Sorry?
Roadies is slang for, they're the people they're the technicians who set up everything. So they're the behind the scenes people. People ask me, well, how much do you practice? When I was younger, I used to practice every day, 4 hours a day, et cetera, et cetera. Nowadays, as an adult, life is busy. We all have jobs. We all have spouses and our kids or whatever.
Well, My spouse actually divorced me a couple months ago,
I'm sorry.
and my kids are with her. But most of us do have spouses or ex-spouses.
Ex-spouses or partners or other responsibilities.
Yeah.
So it gets harder to make the time. I mean, it's a little easier now you know, with the pandemic and having more time inside. But sometimes I find I'm trying to do my best to try to find as much time as I can to play. I don't do scales. I mean, I used to when I was a kid, and that's fine. You can always do that.
Scales?
Scales, like there are certain patterns you can learn that give you muscle memory that allow you to push your technique further, uh, and pentatonic scale and things like that, which is like a blues scale or
Pentatonics, the band? They're a great band.
but yeah, that's a scale too to play, and
Well, actually, it is a band.
it is. I did not know that.
Pentatonics,
Now I'm gonna have to look them up.
yeah, it's a great band. They make a lot of songs.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on my list of bands to look up. I'm always looking for new music.
That's
I'm on
wonderful.
a quest. I'm on a quest to always find new music because there's so much out there. It's hard to just listen to one thing all the time. So even if I play one thing, I try to listen to everything to get more of a influence on my own musical journey.
Ah, I see. The band Pentatonics is actually, they don't even play instruments. They use, um, I'm blanking on their voices.
Huh?
It's an a cappella group, and they do mainly
Really?
Christmas songs,
That's interesting.
mainly with their voice and no instruments. It's very cool. Uh, their cover of "Mary Did You Know" is a song for the ages, and that's my spiel on pentatonics, everyone. If you could open a show for any artist, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's hard. Um, at the moment, there's one particular group because I wouldn't say band, well, they are a band, but they always have um, members coming in and out of the band of the group. There's always they have like a main lineup of 3 or 4 people, but they always have like supporting musicians that are always coming in to help them. They're called Queens of the Stone Age, and they stretch all the way back to the early '90s, and probably a little later than that, probably late '80s, early '90s, from Palm Desert, California.
Oh, never heard of them.
Yeah, they've been in video games and movies, and yeah, they're all over pop culture.
Hmm.
Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters was with them for a good amount of time.
Food Fighters.
Yeah, FOO fighters. I believe that's a military uh, reference to like UFOs. I believe. I'm not sure.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, they're another kind of big alternative band that is pretty popular. But I would say that they're probably the ones I would want to open for if I could.
Oh, wonderful. Here's a question. What's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't sing. It sounds like dogs barking. I'm pretty good, maybe in the shower by myself. But if I could sing, it probably would be something from like the soul era, most likely. Maybe some Sam Cooke or Aretha Franklin or something like that. Because I grew up with those artists in my house, and they strongly influenced me. So I would say probably like Chain 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 by Aretha Franklin would probably be my go-to.
Never heard of it.
It's
Um,
definitely a classic.
well, maybe not because I haven't heard of it. My karaoke song is it's kind of underground, but it's Mr. Brightside by The Killers. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I love the Killers. Actually, I love their new album. It's absolutely amazing.
Huh. But actually, I was thinking if you want to sing along, we could sing Mr. Brightside. I'll add the instrumental in later.
I am not comfortable with it.
Hit it. Coming out of my cage, and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because of... Sorry, guys. Never mind. Uh,
Any more questions?
Anything else you might want to leave us with, Scully?
I'd say if you're going to start music, it's always a passion thing. So find what you're passionate about with music, and then go from there. That's always my best advice.
That's some great advice, and you're hearing that from Jonah, Mr. Advice Keen, myself. So thank you so much, Scully, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.